Harris, disparaging our voting system. We call that a coup. Well, let's get more into it with our next guest, Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, great to have you with us today. Isn't it interesting? Here you have the Obamas worth more than $70 million. They have mansions in D.C., and Martha's Vineyard, an estate in Hawaii, and they're saying that they ought to be suspicious. We ought to be suspicious of wealthy people in America.
Especially wealthy people who are pushing this idea of socialism. You know, you just showed a segment about Venezuela. And what are the Democrats proposing to do here? They want to pack the Supreme Court here as well. That is how they destroyed Venezuela under Hugo Chavez and Maduro. 20 to 32 justices, 40,000 cases in their favor. Now they can't even get a fair hearing. What has been, by all accounts, in the international community, including the United States of America, a very unfair and not free election in Venezuela. And so this same socialist playbook is being brought here to the United States. It is starting with the divisiveness. It is starting with the anti-police movement. But now you're hearing Kamala Harris talk about price controls as in response of the inflation that they created. Remember, that is exactly how Venezuela failed, right? It was the richest country in South America. They had hyperinflation, and then they implemented these price controls. And on top of that, they decimated their energy industry in the name of climate change. You're hearing all of that from today's Democratic Party, and that is scary. So people should start asking people who fled Venezuela, ask some of those people that are coming over the border, the non-gang member ones, right? The ones who are actually coming to try to get a better life or escape socialism and communism. Ask them about why they fled communism and why they fled Venezuela and how they got there.
Oh, it's great questions. The Cubans, folks from Eastern Europe, when it was under the control of the Soviets. And Congresswoman, on my national radio show, we put together the puzzle pieces. You have her running mate who wants to crack down on free speech. Kamala Harris, when she was a senator, talked about the government taking over and control of patents, basically shutting down businesses. We know they want to get the guns. That, quite frankly, is the only reason. The Second Amendment is the only reason that we don't have a socialist takeover of the country right now. You're right. I think we should all be very alarmed at this.
Well, and when price controls are implemented, that's when the food shortages really come, right? And that's what we should be concerned about. And you don't need to take my word for it. Look at the history books, as you've said. Look, my mother fled communist Cuba, but look what's happening in Nicaragua, in Venezuela. Look what's happening right now to our neighbors in South America, and use them as the teacher, not what I'm saying. It's what's reality, what actually happens when you implement these crazy policies. And that's exactly why I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has left the Democratic Party. Like Ronald Reagan said, the Democratic Party actually left them because they have gone so far to the extreme that they're not the party of JFK. They're not even the party of Bill Clinton anymore, quite frankly. They have gone so far to the left, and they want to take these crazy policies that will continue to drive up the cost of food, of gas, of utilities. Americans are struggling now. Wait to see if they get control, because they will decimate the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of President Trump that actually is the reason why they're not suffering as much as they should be right now under the policies of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, because at least he helped lift wages somewhat. He did create jobs and some opportunity, brought unemployment down to the lowest levels, particularly among African Americans, Hispanics, and women. And so we're seeing some type of relief from that Tax Cut and Jobs Act. But Kamala Harris has made it clear that she will allow that to expire. And that will be a tax increase for everyone, all working Americans, the middle class, for the job creators, the businesses that have benefited and been able to expand their businesses and hire more people as a result. She wants to crush all that. She wants to let it expire and allow for at least $5 trillion in tax increases on working people.
And Congresswoman, real quick before we let you go, I think even members of her own party understand how devastating this is going to be, which is why we have seen the New York Times and shockingly even the Washington Post say these are insane economic policies. The reason they're doing that, Congresswoman, is because they are owned by businessmen who understand economics, and they know how devastating that could be to the country.
Well, look, what she has been saying will further cripple our energy industry and drive up prices that people are paying at the pump. We're already paying 50% more now than when Trump left office. People's utility bills are skyrocketing because they're crushing traditional energy sources without being ready for this new clean energy, which people support, but we got to get there gradually, right? And it has to make sense. We need reliable traditional energy for everything in our economy, including our national security. What
Exactly.
they've done in raiding strategic petroleum reserves puts us in great danger and at great risk on our national security, in addition to that open border that Kamala wants to see even more open.
All right, Congresswoman, great stuff as always. We appreciate you coming on Newsmax tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.